very small.
Wait, why do I feel like...
What's going on?
Something is playing in the background. Hold on. I told that to shut the fuck up. Hello!
Why am I so small? Make me bigger.
Okay.
Make me bigger. I'm so small.
Yeah, you were small. Because usually I have 3 people here.
Well, sure, but it's Wednesday.
It is Wednesday, my dude.
There we go. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Today, I am your candy bag. Put your candy inside of my mouth.
Put your candy inside of my mouth. Alright, let's go. Costume
No, wait, you
class.
hit new game.
No, I didn't.
Oh, wait, I'm wrong.
Anyways, yeah, this is us.
Oh, you're still using these ones. Okay. Not a bad setup.
This was for the costume.
Oh, right, for the costume contest.
Costume contest. I got all of these.
Nice. Honestly, of your current costumes, like, that's the best one. You don't have a unicorn yet, so.
Yeah, I'm missing.
How do you not have a unicorn?
I'm missing stuff. I wanted to have a them-sized candy bar and a giant candy seed. Unlikely.
Yeah, that's why I shrunk myself.
Ah.
So I could be the size of a candy bar.
Yeah.
So I could take a nap on a candy bar.
Yeah, so I'm missing one thing for the...
You're missing the yarn ball.
Yeah, I don't know where that is. I'm gonna go make sure I have all of the stamps.
So go to the southern area of the second floor. Head up to the second floor.
Oop.
You're gonna want to find a set of stairs to go up to the third floor, and there's a chest up there.
Like a tiny dragon snoozing on their hoard of gold. Yeah, she's got a
Chocolate gold.
chocolate some gelt.
Yeah, some gelt. Some Hanukkah gelt.
Hanukkah gelt.
I always take out the mages first.
Yeah, the mage is annoying.
Not only do they have less health, but also effects.
Alright, let's see if I can remember all of the buttons. Yeah. I was just making sure that I think the headphones are coming through the mic.
Oh, are they?
Just a little bit. I just moved them. Should help.
Okay.
Yeah, get on. Alright, easy peasy. Easy peasy. I sure did.
Honestly, if you do all of the trading side quests and fight as many enemies as you can, like getting the getting all the creepy tree cards for the black cat costume is not hard. It should just sort of happen naturally.
Well, if it happens, it happens, but I'm not gonna worry about it.
Yeah.
Because it's not even a great costume.
Yeah, it's not even very good, so like
we're just here to have fun, and I wanna get through I see how many of the games we can get through as well. Press the wrong button. He died anyway.
Honestly, the best costumes in the game, in my opinion, are the Pumpkin King, Pumpkin, the Vampire, and the,
see, I'm not remembering my buttons. Yeah, the unicorn I definitely want.
The unicorn is awesome because it's the costume.
Yeah. Just forgetting buttons. It's fine.
You see X and it's like, okay, what console, what controller am I using?
Yeah, a little bit. Get
The robot-
wrecked.
Honestly, the robot is really good.
The robot's my favorite. I love him.
Until you get, like, another, like, really strong attacker, the robot is
Bitch.
just absolutely fantastic.
There's so many guys to kill.
Yeah, there's a lot of Trabos. You know, I just noticed that the staff is a jack-o'-lantern.
Oh yeah, it is.
Played this game like 1,000 times, and I just noticed that. Actually, 100% of this game at least 100 times. Once a year, usually.
Yeah, once a year. You gotta play it at least once a year.
This will count as my playthrough, but I'll probably play it anyway.
Yeah, it's because it's good.
Yeah. It's like there are a couple of things I gotta do every October.
Yeah.
That are like
Over the garden wall.
the garden wall, for sure. Costume quest, and at least one watch of Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nightmare Before Christmas is not on my list. Not because I don't like it, but just because I have a hard time with movies.
I also have a hard time with movies. You know what? We should do at some point. 3.
Oh, the game is really loud. Sorry, guys. I just realized that the game is like overpowering our voices. Sorry.
Oh hell. Sorry, Kenj. Kenjamin specifically.
Benjamin specifically. That might
Everyone
be too
else?
quiet now.
Fuck those guys. I apologize to Kenjamin.
I apologize to Benjamin only. Anyways, what were you saying?
We should, on stream, we should play the, so you want to find a set of stairs that go up, and then there's a, I think on the other side of that.
Yeah, over here.
No. So literally just go around to the other side of that. Not that.
Ah.
Like, huh. Well, maybe those are the stairs, and you just gotta go up the downstairs or something. Go up the downstairs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go up there.
Uh-huh.
There it is.
There it is. Yay! Unicorn!
Now you put your robot costume back on, because it has the best ability, and then, yeah, get Lucy on the
There we go.
unicorn. This is pretty much going to be your setup for most of the rest of the game.
Whee!
Until you get some of the really good chapter
Okay, I
costumes.
think that I have everything here now.
Yep. Now, all you have to do is ride the monorail to the boss fight.
Let's go! I'm finally not a
button.
third wheel. That was a Switch confusion.
Yep.
I'm trying to leave my story, my very dramatic story of what happened yesterday until more people get here.
It's pretty dramatic. Anyway, off to through the gate.
All monsters. Oh, okay.
You gotta ride the train.
Okay, I'll ride the train.
That's a lot of candy.
Oh, let me smack it. Let me get the candy.
Mother.
The mother load. They cleaned the place out. Why do they want candy so bad? Experiment. Dissect monster. Search for evidence of glucose-dependent metabolism. Oh, you're really good at science. Thanks. You can do the dissection part if you want. Let's keep an eye out for my brother. Hey, there he is. Reynold. Yeah, I'm okay, I think.
I'm sorry
Sorry.
about fun of your costume.
It's okay. Besides, you were right. My costume kind of sucks.
What? That's ridiculous. It fooled those monsters, didn't it?
You're right. They totally thought I was candy. Oh, Mextel's coming. I know that's not his name. I'm saying it that way anyways. Last of it.
Metzel.
Let's get this candy on the bus and get out of here, you sugar-sucking sly bags.
Yes, sir, Metzel, sir.
Hey, you mechanized mutant. We're putting an end to your candy-stealing operation.
Ah, you little children think you can take out my candy dozer?
We can, but I warn you, the proof will be rigorous.
You two, go stop them while I put the rest of the candy on the truck. Don't screw this up, we're answering to big bones.
Oh no, not big bones. We'll do anything you tell us.
I'm telling you to stop them. So, the whole combat system in this game raises some interesting lore questions.
Uh-huh.
Like, are they turning kaiju sized?
Yes.
Like, are they actually doing that? And two, how does nobody notice?
How does nobody notice in Magical Girl anime?
And also, how do they, like, teleport outside and then back inside?
Magic. Bitch. I need to switch around my stamps, I think.
Pretty much. The eyeball bat, the jawbone, and the poison?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you'll get better versions of those, but those are the best ones to use.
Cool.
Tried our best, but at the end of the day, it just wasn't good enough.
Now look what you made me do! One of these guys was my brother-in-law! Really?
What? What?
No idea. Trollbugs all look the same to me. Oh, he's racist. Just like filthy humans. Oh, they really want me to use the ninja for this.
But you have the knight, so it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, should I shield?
Not yet. Wait until he is focusing on somebody.
Okay.
And honestly, you don't need it. Even if he does kill somebody, as long as it's not the unicorn, you can just heal them.
Yeah, the unicorn's power is heal and revive.
It's really powerful single target healing and reviving. Means you're
Lucy. He's focusing on
so
Lucy.
Now you want to use your guardian shield on Lucy.
Yeah. Guardian shield on Lucy. Whack. Yeah, we've got him.
Yeah. That's easy boss. Didn't even have to use your heal.
Shoot. That's fine. I'm not even gonna use the missile barrage on him. Haha.
Disrespect. He's not dead, but still, like... This would be a good time to heal Lucy, actually.
Okay.
You'll have plenty of turns to fill it back out.
Nice. Okay, staring at Everett.
Weep, weep, weep.
Guardian Everett. Wham, 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 wham.
I want to custom quest 3 so badly.
Oh, that'd be so good. I'm not sure what else they could do with it, though.
I mean, there are more plots they could do.
That's true. And it's Halloween, it could be anything.
Honestly, I would just take more of the same.
Yeah. These games came out a pretty long time ago. It's not likely that we'll get more.
No, I don't think it's likely that we'll get another one. But I also didn't think it was likely we'd get another Psychonauts, and we did. So,
Well, if
you
we
never
just
know what Double Fine's up to.
if we spam, is this Double Fine?
Yeah, Double Fine.
Oh, no wonder it's so good.
Yeah.
Double Fine, please. Double Fine, please.
You got a beard.
You got banana beard and a stamp.
Yeah.
That candy dozer was the only family I ever knew. You mess with my candy, you're gonna get licked. That's what I get for outsourcing. Anything more loathsome than the sound of children's laughter. Oh. I'm surprised to see you two together again. How did you manage to move past all those horrible, unforgivable things you said? Wait a second. Hey, that's from one of those big ugly gates. My brother smells, he's annoying.
Beard. If that's candy, then it's kinda weird.
That's totally inadmissible. Mom was wrong. You were never my best friend. No! Ronald, let me explain. I was so much younger when I said that. Dude, where are you going? Since these monsters can't seem to tell kids from candy, you lucky brats are gonna help me get back on schedule. I'll hit the weight requirements for my candy quota in no time. And I'll be living in Repugia before midnight. I'm not fat. This is a costume. Here we go. Whoa, where are we? Oh, we're all candy corn. Hypothesis, a briar patch or thicket. Usually found in rural observation. I mean, look over there. Where's Reynold? Why are we in these substandard candy costumes instead of our awesome ones? Don't burn my costume! The heck? Don't burn them! Sweep this town for candy. This is our last stop before the triumphant return to Repugia. I thought it was Repugnia. Like with an N.
It's Repugia.
Well, clearly. How are we gonna get out of here? Candy bash. That was easy. Okay, let's go. Whee! Woof. Our crummy substitute costumes. That puts us at a serious disadvantage against those monsters. Come on, guys, we have to get our real costumes back. Repugnia is where all the pug puppers live. Bash. Give me all your candy. No candy. Trash candy.
Candy.
Trash candy.
Trash candy.
Ooh.
Take a break. Break! Why do you keep yelling the last words I say? Well, I've just been pondering this whole Big Bun situation. I can't help but feel being coerced into contributing to some sort of highly unethical scheme. I'm just feeling cynical about the whole thing. Reeves, I'm hungry. Hungry!
They have our costumes. We need our costumes to fight them. Found you.
A bigger bag and attack bonus.
I think I missed the bigger bag in the mall.
Probably.
Oh well. Is the guy. It's not the guy.
That's not the guy.
It's not the guy.
That's not the guy.
It's not the guy.
You are not the guy. You're not capable of being the guy.
You are Mr. Gay.
I had a guy, but now I don't. You are not the guy.
What is that?
It's from this song that was made entirely out of clips from Breaking Bad.
Admission is $5 if you're wearing a costume. How much is it if we're not wearing a costume? You have to be wearing a costume to get in, so I'm gonna say the tickets cost about, without a costume, cost $1 million. How about that? Yikes, we don't even have $5. Let's go figure out what we can get in here. Wow, that's expensive.
You happen to have a duplicate creepy treat? Creepy treat?
What do you want? Hey, brah, I got sticky stuff all over my street shoes creepy treat card. I need another one. I got some rare ones to trade. They aren't sticky. I don't have an extra. Ancient mummy sounds.
Oh, there's a hidden kid.
I see you.
A kid in head. Oh, what a world! What a world!
What a world! Fuck, mummy, take the wheel. Give me all you can. Alright, chat. Debate. What's the best Halloween candy? Go. You the guy? You're not the guy.
Anything that's a full-size bar.
Anything that's a full-size bar. I like fruity stuff. I find that chocolate, Halloween chocolate is like almost always too sweet. Best candy is white chocolate Reese's Cups. Whatever's in the bottom of my bag the morning after Halloween. White chocolate Reese's Cups, huh? I've never tried those. Trick or treat. Oh, you're right. Okay, there's a chest here.
Yeah, it's full of candy. Speaking of candy, there's Sadie down there.
Sadie! Hi, Sadie. Check out my outside voice! Alright. How'd you get out here in the country? My dad dropped me off. He's so excited. He thinks I'm camping with you guys. Her dad is so sweet. Did he give you any s'mores? No, but I do have s'more battle stamps. Counterattack.
Rotten egg is so good. Being able to stun an enemy for one round is...
Yeah, but then if I attack the enemy, then...
That's true.
It unstuns them.
It does unstuns them. That's why you need the toilet paper.
What's this? Auto resurrect self after one turn with some HP. Ooh. Give that to Lucy.
No, you want somebody to have poison.
Yeah, someone can have poison, but...
What you need is the rotten pumpkin guts.
We have regular pumpkin guts.
Yeah, well, you need the rotten ones, otherwise they're not as good as the poison. Because the rotten ones do poison.
Yeah. Alright, that's my stamps.
Yeah. Yeah, having the auto-revive on your reviver is always good. Anyway, go get the fucking, french fries.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Go get the fucking french fries.
I don't remember shit. You think I remember shit? I don't remember shit.
I remember shit.
I don't remember shit.
It's a good thing I remember shit.
Hi. I'm too busy looking for Halloween costumes right now. Bring me 3 new customers, I'll let you have it. Plus I'll throw in tickets to the carnival. Okay.
The fry costume is actually quite good.
Bow.
It's combat. It I believe it is an attacker type, so it should
Mhm.
replace your robot. You can only lure one at a time, so.
Come on. Come get French fries. I'm gonna eat French fries till I puke.
Gross.
Gross. Why would you do that? Why would you do that to yourself? Mood.
I want French fries.
French fries do sound really good though.
Oh wait, there's just.
Bah. Treasure chest. It's got candy.
There's 100 candies in it.
It's got 100 candies in it.
100 candy. Anyway, now you gotta be.
Blah, 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 blah,
Now you
blah,
gotta
blah, 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 blah. Oh, red French fries.
check the costume stats. I want to see what how the French fry. Special.
French fries.
Salt assault. Yeah. Salt assault is great. It's a great ability. That's a full that's an AOE stun for 1 round.
Ooh. That's
and
good.
With plus damage.
Come get French fry. Come get French fry.
Come get French fry.
I want French fry.
French fry. A little more.
Come on. Yay! We did it! Work in food packaging and make bags look nice for print. The only time I get hungry when I'm looking at work is when I'm working on fries or onion ring bags. That makes sense. Technically, it's still breakfast time. If I ordered McDonald's, I could get hash browns.
That's not French fries.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It's French fry offcuts.
It's a different form of potato. Go get your costume.
It's superior.
Go get your costumes back.
We get tickets now, right?
Yeah, but you don't want to use them yet. And you can't go in yet because not everybody's wearing a costume.
Oh, right. Do I just have to go fight those guys?
No. You gotta go fool them.
Oh.
Trick them, if you will.
Trick them into thinking that there's French fries.
Yeah, trick them into thinking there's a treat.
Hashed browns are just French fry patties. Yes.
Disagree.
I didn't eat breakfast today, and
They
this
taste different.
Quick, lure them into the barn. To the barn.
Bonk.
Come on. Yay!
You get your costumes back!
Take French fries and turn them into hash browns, chopped style. This completes me. We got our costumes and our tickets. Now that jerk at the admissions booth has no reason to keep us out.
Keep your French fry costume on.
But zoomies.
But French fry.
But
Alright, well you
But
can wear it
zoomies.
until you get to the trick or treat.
there's a chest over there. I guess I can't get that right now.
Well, go trick or treat at all the houses in town first.
Oh yeah, good idea. Wee, wee,
You're
wee.
gonna need to do them all anyway, so
Frybo. No, not Frybo.
go re-equip Frybo and then.
No, not Frybo. Hello.
Welcome to Fall Valley. Here's a bunch of fucking candy. Shove it in
Yay.
your candy hole.
Yay. I will.
Hey, lady, you got a pickle on your face.
Hey, yeah, hey lady. Hey lady, that's a pickle.
Lady, you got a pickle on your face.
Hey lady, you got a pickle on your face. Whoop.
Like they're just wall-eyed at all times.
Yeah. They're pretty funny looking.
Yeah.
French fry. Oh yeah, I forgot he's like a spider.
Yeah. He's a
Crab.
He's a little guy. He's like a
He's
little
a
crab.
crab. French
Little
fry crab.
Yeah. He's like, he's cute, and that's why you should always use him. At least until you get one of the better costumes in this area.
Yeah. I like my robot though.
Robot is pretty great.
I wish I still had Treat Stream. Not that anyone ever used it, which is why I stopped. Salt assault! Get salted, bitch.
And its stun persists through attacks.
Nice. Get wrecked.
Can
Get salted.
Can get salted.
Can get salted.
Assault and battery.
Here goes Treat.
Because you hit them with salt and then they got battered.
These crow guys are so funny
The
looking.
crest whalers are fucking so.
They're so funny.
I honestly love the little French fry guy.
Alright. Probably the bruiser first, right?
No, you want to take out the crest whalers. They're stronger.
Get him. Get him. Hit Ren. Thank you. Get attacked, bitch. Yeah, you get attacked too. Counterattack is the best.
Counterattack's pretty good.
Especially if you have a good attack.
Okay, now don't worry about that guy, because he's gonna die of poison.
Die of poison.
Wassel.
I pressed the wrong button because I just randomly forgot where the buttons
See,
were.
he just exploded.
Yeah. Explosion. Get exploded. From poison.
Exploded. Get.
Poison explosion.
Get exploded. Exploded. Get exploded. Get exploded. Get exploded.
I'm reminded of the old 80s and 90s fast food kids meal toys that had cool models of fries and burgers and stuff that transformed into monsters. That's sick.
That's actually sick as fuck.
Alright.
And also very 90s.
Yeah.
Now you should heal Ren while you have a chance.
Go. Healing. I love the unicorn. The unicorn looks so cool.
Right? Unicorn's badass.
The unicorn is badass. Everybody is
I like
stunned.
that the fry costume is always steaming and delicious.
Yeah. Really want French fries.
I know, right? Effective marketing. French fries.
For French fries.
And they both explode.
Yay!
I just find that really funny.
Yeah. Did I say human crackers?
It did.
Gross.
As opposed to animal crackers.
Trick or treat. Six are really big kids out there tonight. What does that mean?
He's mistaking the monsters for Puggians for large children.
Wow.
Speaking of which,
Oh, hello.
step into my entryway of suffering.
Entryway of suffering.
Entryway of suffering. Womp, 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 womp. Oh, you gotta take out the healer first.
The monk. Easy peasy.
Mystic next.
Just gotta kill him. Just gotta kill him.
Yeah, kill.
Just gotta kill him.
Fucking murder him. Fucking murder him, bro.
EP.
Sound to eat.
As the EP.
You didn't stun him. You stun him with your salt.
Yeah. I sure didn't. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. You'll just kill him this turn.
He doesn't hit
Steps,
that
steps, steps.
hard.
No. I mean, he hits pretty hard, but like... not so hard that you can't deal with him.
There we go. Boom.
Here's a street chew.
Speak to.
You just need one more to trade to that guy.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't paying attention to what he had.
He wanted a street chew.
My husband said no kids would come. Hey, gay representation in
Gay.
Costume Quest. Costume Quest is inclusive. Aw, man, there's another one of these fuckers.
Healer first.
Oh yeah, is it him? This is what happens when I don't eat breakfast.
Sleep and eat.
I don't have time for all
What you get
that.
for streaming at 9 a.m.
I don't have a choice.
I didn't say you did. I said this is what you get.
It's not my choice.
Like I said, I didn't say it was your choice.
I can't do anything about it.
You could get up earlier.
Yeah, that'll fix it. That'll fix the problem. Let me just get up at like 4 a.m.
And then you can eat breakfast. Salt.
I can normally eat breakfast anyways. It's just
Salt.
today I really didn't feel like cooking.
Salt.
I pressed the wrong button like a dumbass. I just read.
You're okay to play video games.
Yeah, it's fine. Am I okay to comment on video games? Mm-mm. But you know, here I am.
Commenting on video games is hard.
Commenting on video game, playing video game, easy. Comment on video game,
Okay, hit the other guy. Okay.
hard.
This is a hit the trial bug because that guy was gonna die of poison anyway.
You're so right.
Whatever.
Words hard.
Whatever.
Game easy.
Easy game. Not like this game's particularly difficult anyway.
Game easy mode baby game.
Easy mode.
Buttons are for pushing. Mouth is for eating fries.
Fries.
Please someone feed me.
Please someone give me French fry.
Do I have money for French fry?
No.
I might have money for
trick or treat more. Stop standing there. We need to have interesting content, or else all of our 2 viewers are gonna leave.
No, they won't. One of them's your girlfriend.
Yes.
The other one's Kenjamin. Kenjamin doesn't leave for anything.
Benjamin is a loyal.
Kenjamin is the most loyal.
Oh, check with Sadie again. She might have more stuff.
Friend that I have.
Nope.
Rotten egg. I get rotten egg.
Yeah, if you have the rotten egg, you just put it on Lucy because she always goes last.
Yeah. Well, but I want her to have the
revive.
The revive. I'll put that on her for boss fights. Jack, if I send you money, will you buy me fries also? I don't see why not.
French fry. Now I want a burger.
Alright. Hang on, let me look at my bank account.
I want a hamburger.
Let me look at my bank account.
Your face is frozen.
Yeah, it's because shut up.
You gonna order some fries.
I have $184.
That's enough for one burger.
It's enough for one burger. Yes, if you send me money, I'll get you French fries.
Burger. Hashtag not sponsored by Big French Fry.
Not sponsored by Big French Fry.
We are sponsored by Small French Fry, though.
No, we're not. We're not sponsored by anybody.
We're sponsored by me.
Why is the baby sick again?
I don't know. Have you tried taking better care of your child? Oh wait, it's too early for French fries. We can't have French fries from there.
We can't have hash brown.
That's not the same.
Also, I think we can. No, I think we can't.
No, they don't have them. It's too early for French fries.
We can get French fry after stream. We'll get French fry after stream.
But then it'll be French fry time. It's too early for French fries.
Too early for French fries.
Frenched fry.
Frenched fry. All right. Yeah, I don't have the extra one.
Anyway, it's time for the carnival.
Money sent to Penny to send to you.
Be the roundabout.
We didn't even discuss how much money you were gonna send me. Fries money. Hello, we have costumes. Ferris wheel is broken.
Vampire.
You too can enjoy fries by giving Jack money. Subscribe for French fry content.
Subscribe for giving Jack money.
Yeah. Who are you? Helpful cat. A mysterious scarecrow. Wow.
Gasp.
Humble mystic and brother of Drusilla the witch. Plot twist. The fries will be on screen. You've been helping us all along? She needs to be brought back to her senses. But I can't be the one to do it. Why? Because she's really mean and I'm totally afraid of her. But I can help you do it. Get to the top of the Ferris wheel and there you will find the path. But hurry, you're running out of time.
Vampire.
Oh no. Let us go. Please, I'm afraid of heights. See? I told you these humans are full of candy. You were right. I guess I owe you a hug after all. Hey, let those guys down. Greaves, it's those kids Drusilla told us about. We can't let them get on the Ferris wheel. We have to help those kids. Hey, we have to help them.
Yeah. Via fry-based combat.
Really need food.
French fry combat. Mortal Kombat!
Here, fight these guys while I go get a snack.
Okay.
I'll be right back, chat. Penny's gonna take over.
I'm gonna
my
take
face.
over Jack's face. Hello, it's me, Jack. It's me, Jack. I'm the face now. That's Jack. That's what Jack sounds like. Oh shit! I pressed the wrong. I wasn't paying attention. I'm bad at video games. Don't worry about it. Don't even worry about it, guys. Yeah, I mean, I hold my face differently than Jack does, so that makes sense. Also, horrifying. Anyway. So this ability is great because you can do it every single turn. And you could just, if you're one-on-one with a guy, you can just instant unlock them forever. It's great. Ooh. Rats.
It is really funny how different the model looks between our faces.
It really, yeah, it is. Anyway, I'm Jack still. I'm just gonna finish up this fight.
Yeah, that's fine. There's a cookies and cream cupcake. We're good.
Oh, that's right. If they're poisoned, they don't get stunned.
Jack and Benny doing a DBZ fusion. This is what happens when you don't practice VTuber puppeteering.
Yes, it's true. You look like some sort of horrific amalgamation.
What?
Well, happy Halloween! Anyway.
I think you just smile less than me.
Yeah. Well, I smile differently than you.
Yeah. I have my face again.
Yep.
I have cupcake. How?
Even though you're eating a cupcake in real life, your model is just like biting nothing.
Yeah. That's why you have to tell the audience.
Yeah.
That's a cupcake.
Yeah.
But
It
unfortunately,
could be anything. Jack could be lying. It could have been anything. You decide.
waiter. Hydrate or dihydrate.
Hydrate or die straight.
Oh gosh, that's a worse punishment.
The worst, truly the worst fate imaginable.
Excuse me, I have to get this box.
It's Sphinx.
It's fangs. Pop a balloon. Ruin festival for candy.
Candy. Well, it's their fault for putting candy in the,
I don't think we'll ever be able to fix the damage that was done to this control panel. Sorry, kids. The Ferris wheel will be closed for a very long time. We have to find another way. Come on. Let's look around its carnival some more. If only we could fly. If only we could fly. Can vampire fly?
no.
Oh. What could be more comforting on a cold night than a face full of ice water? Everything? The Apple industry pays me to do this. They're watching me right now, so can we get to it? Yes.
Bobbins.
I'm the best bobber for apples.
The best bobbin. Apple bobbin.
There we go.
Victory.
Victory! Thank goodness we're both safe, but not from candy.
No one is safe from candy.
No one is safe from candy. Unfortunately, I chose a very crinkly snack, so sorry.
That's
Pretzel.
Wetzel.
Bob for more apples while I snack.
Eating pretzels on stream. Crunch, crunch, crunch. You keep bobbing for apples. I'm gonna take a little nap, okay?
No,
Right.
no nap. Nap's not allowed.
No, why not?
Because fuck you, that's why.
Oh, okay, that's reasonable. Bobbins for bobbins. Apples for bobbins.
Apples for bobbins. Are you sure you don't work for the candy industry? You don't realize they're all the same company? Woof. Woof. Alright, one more. One more, and then I think we're done.
Because that'll get you that creepy treat card.
Yeah.
After that, it's just for funsies. We don't have time for fun.
We don't have
Streaming is
time for
serious
fun.
business.
This is so serious. We have to go save my brother from being eaten.
Yeah, be eaten alive by big bones. Gotta save him from being eaten by some kind of skeleton.
Yeah. Maybe. We don't really know what Big Bones is.
I mean, I do.
We don't know.
Oh. Okay.
We're reacting live.
To a game we've played dozens of times before that the audience knows that. Go talk to that kid. He's hiding.
Which kid?
The kid who's hiding directly down from you. Nope, I said directly down.
Oh, this kid. Yes, X-ray vision.
How about that kid right there?
Nope. Not hiding.
Okay, well, you gotta go get more vampire costume before you...
Trick or treat.
Don't trick or treat till you get the new costume.
Why?
Because then you will have less chances to use the new costume in the fights. Plus, it's really good, so...
Okay.
Banana.
Candy.
MD.
MD. Excuse me, can you shoot me to the top? I need to get all the pieces first. More candy. I apologize for the crunching ASMR.
I don't.
What do I need? Vampire. Face paint and cloth.
Okay, so for the face paint, you gotta go find the third scarecrow.
Okay. Let's go!
So I believe that is if you go through, if you go that way, and you keep going that way.
Low fat meat cones.
I believe if you keep going that way,
I got this one.
Eventually, well, there's more way to go that way.
Is there?
Yeah, go there. Think. Nope. Well, you might have to do the. You may actually have to do the cannon thing first.
Okay. Let's go do the cannon thing.
Yeah.
Hello, please shoot me. I'm Orzo, the cannon toss oddball. Her name sounds like a menu item at a kitschy Italian restaurant. Oh, all great human cannons are named after pasta. It's tradition. Can we use your cannon to get to the top of the Ferris wheel? Mm-mm. Only a professional.
Okay, well.
What if I look like this?
Past him.
I will now perform the most amazing stunt ever attempted.
In this county.
Wait, he doesn't see us. Keep your eyelids pointed away from the person next to you. They're going to explode when you see what's in this. What are you children doing to my cannon? Thank you, algebra. Uh-oh, did that girl say she knows algebra? Whee! Let's fucking go!
Ninja time. Bum 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 bum.
Ninja time. What? That's stupid. I totally should have gotten that. Ow.
Yeah, now just stun whichever one you're not hitting every turn.
Okay.
Do the egg every single turn.
Get egged, bitch.
That's good damage and it stuns. As long as they're not poisoned, that is.
Egg. Egg.
Stun.
Well, no, just attack. There's only one left.
No, just stun him. Since he's not poisoned yet, you can just stun him. Now you
Just hit him.
see, all worked out.
Yay! We got glue.
You got glue.
already feel less vomity. Alright, guys, let's keep an eye out for that door Dorian told us about. Over there! Mmm.
Zanato, Votello, Lobato.
Sneaky.
So, do you recognize those?
For descent.
Do you recognize those words? Those are all names of characters from Psychonaut.
That's funny. I'm glad we figured out a clever way to get down from this Ferris wheel that was both plausible and practical. Okay, fine. I'm willing to suspend my disbelief just this once. That monster used a spell to illuminate. Yeah. I did that. I did it! Back. Well, I guess we need to go trick-or-treating, huh?
Not yet. Go get the last two costumes.
Okay.
They're both, like, right around here.
Unicorn Pellets Creepy Treats card.
Talk to that kid.
On patrol of what?
Maybe you can break that wall? Yeah. Shortcut.
Nice.
Oh, look, a hidden kid.
Hey. I got you.
Okay, not that way. Go down.
I get him. I'm just gonna call this VOD the snacking stream.
Yeah, snacking time. I wish it was candy time.
Is that a cave?
Okay.
Oh. I did not see a cave. Back north and off the path to the right.
I know one of the vampire costume pieces is in a cave.
Oh, maybe. Haha. Get egged. I press
Really
button.
just egging him on, huh?
Yeah.
Hit him with a meteor.
Meteor avalanche. Wham. Get hit, idiot.
Get
Haha.
idioted.
Okay. Back north and off the path to the right. Oh, yeah. There's a little cave here.
Yeah. Go that way.
And also go this way.
Yeah, go that way. Found some black cloth.
Black cloth.
Now you just need white face paint. I know where that is.
I love Zoom.
Okay, go back to the other path. Go faster. Go faster.
There he is. Dorian, we know it's you now. Oh, right. Well, did you know I'd be giving you this? Leaves.
Diddly.
Pumpkin time. It'll help speak for you whenever you're in big trouble. I emphasize big because it's a hint. Goodbye, children. Good luck. Bye. He is just saying that, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, the vampire costume piece is around here.
No, your stuff over there.
Yeah, well, you can't... You gotta go...
What? He was hiding?
I guess so.
It was not hiding.
A bat bucket.
Okay, I got a bet bucket. Bet bucket.
Do you see that chest there?
Yeah.
Pretty sure that has the last vampire costume material in it.
Gotta go over there.
Yeah, we'll just go down from there and loop around.
Mmm.
And then it's time for trick-or-treating.
White face paint. Vampire. Alright, let me look.
And now you have the best setup.
I want the pumpkin though.
No, see, what you do is you put the pumpkin on... you replace the knight with the vampire. And you wear the pumpkin yourself.
There we go.
Now you have the best setup.
Nice. Let's fucking go. Except zoom. Go fast. Trick or treat. Give me candy. Oh. It's not my fault you're bad at counting.
Yes, it is.
Look how sick this costume is. The vampire's cool too, but look at the fucking pumpkin.
Yeah.
Bah. Yeah. Fire! I should stop eating chocolates now.
Yeah, you should.
Okay. Pew! Vampire beam.
Vampire beam.
Vampire beam. Get wrecked. I don't know why the commentary is just out the window today.
I don't know. We're both tired. That's why.
We had a long day yesterday.
We did have a really long day yesterday. It was kind of insane.
It was really fucking insane. So, I wanted to go to the game cafe for my birthday. And day started out fine. Went to the grocery store, got some cupcakes. And then painted all of the minis, made sure all of the minis were painted.
Killed it, Crestpoint.
What?
Killed the assassin.
Yeah. So got a bunch of minis painted. Got everything's good.
Oh, you got an extra one of those street shoes. You can go give it to the guy.
Yeah, he's this way.
Yeah, he's outside the carnival.
So yeah, so we go. Let me out. We go do that, and then we're getting ready to go, and we go to the game cafe. Go to local game cafe TM.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get there and we're like, hi, we're here, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, okay, cool, just to let you know, we're cleaning our ice machine, so we have no ice.
We have no ice.
And it was kind of warm that day.
It was hot AF that day. Let's be totally clear here.
It was kind of hot. So I don't know why in the world they were cleaning the ice machine in that exact moment, but they were cleaning the ice machine. So we had no ice. So I did not get the matcha latte that I wanted. That was annoying.
Yeah.
And then we're hanging out. Alex gets there. Alexandra's kind of late. That's fine. We knew she was gonna be late.
Mm-hmm.
And
The sandwiches.
the sandwiches were good. I got a caprese sandwich. It was very, very good. And then we get a text from I get a text from Pepper, Kiki's girlfriend. And Pepper texts me, hey, our train blew up. We're gonna be late. Excuse me? Your what? Did what?
Yeah, train blew up.
So yeah, train blew up.
Train machine broke.
Train machine hella broke.
Understandable. Have a nice day. Have a day.
So yeah, their train blew up. Not the car they were in, and maybe not even the train. It might have been something in the station. But anyways, the train gets evacuated, and we're trying to figure out how to get them to us because they're like an hour away from us, right?
You're gesturing with your hands, but none of the people out there can see you.
Yeah, but
I know. You talk with your hands, but stop talking with your hands and play the video game while you talk.
I'm part Jewish, part Italian.
Yeah, I know. Well, stop it.
Get some help.
You can do your kvetching. All
I'm
you want.
telling a story.
Yeah, you're kvetching, and that's fine.
Anyways. So
Look, it just means emphatically complaining. So you know what? It's a tradition.
It's a tradition.
Jewish tradition. Emphatically complaining about stuff.
So yeah. And then Alex is like, okay, I'll order them an Uber. We'll get them an Uber. It's fine. We'll deal with money later. We'll get them here. So they get the Uber, and then they are stuck. And let me find an exact time for like how. So
3 hours.
There's a bridge between them and us. There's a bridge. let me see here. From the time that they got in the Uber, around 5:40, maybe.
Which was already an hour and a half late.
Which is already an hour and a half late. Okay, it was like 5:30ish, right? And then they were stuck on the bridge until about 7 when we gave up. They sat in an Uber for like 2 hours. Like 2 hours. And they had not crossed the bridge. And we said no. After a little while, after like an hour of waiting, I said I want to go home. So we switched where their Uber was going to. Not that would have helped.
Did not help.
It's the same route. They still have to get across the bridge. And there wasn't enough space in my grandma's car for all of us. So me, Alex, and Alexandra all decided we're gonna walk to my house. It's not that far. So we're gonna go walk to my house while Penny and Acacia take all of our stuff back. And in the car. And we're walking and we're going across the street. I'm looking and paying attention. And we're halfway across this street, crossing the street, when a car whizzes by us. And I basically grabbed Alex's hand to make sure they weren't gonna get hit by the dang car. I saw it at the last second. Like, I was doing my best to pay attention, but you know, I got ADHD, so. But there was no way any of us could have predicted this fucking car. It was not there when we started to cross the street. Like, it was not in render distance. At all. So, yeah, so that happened. And then there was like an ominous amount of crows. There were a lot of crows around after that. And then we found the sweetest little black cat. Very sweet little black cat. But yeah, just kind of omens everywhere. I think black cats are good luck. So I think that black cat was like, hey, your vibes are bad. Let me fix that for you. But yeah, ominous amount of crows and a black cat and almost getting hit by a car. It was a lot. So anyways, we get back to my house and we're like, let's play Mario Party. Let's play the new Mario Party. Penny's got a Switch 2. Let's play the new Mario Party. Switch 2 machine broke.
It wasn't broken, I just didn't have the,
We're missing a piece.
Yeah, the half the charger got left somewhere.
Yeah. And we're like, okay, well, Jack has a Switch. We'll move Jack's Switch downstairs. So we do that. We play old Mario Party. Mario Party 2.
It was fun.
It was very fun.
It was fun because I win.
Yeah. Very fun. Very good end to the night, but oh my god. Was it a long fucking day? Yeah.
It was really long. No one would have blamed us for not doing the streaming today, except for me.
I would have blamed us.
I would have blamed Jack. But also, it would have been totally reasonable. But we didn't because we're professionals. We're professionals. Stop shaking your head. We're professionals. I'll kill you. We're professionals. Don't make me kill you.
Don't. No.
Well, yeah, don't make me kill you, and I won't kill you. It's Halloween, time for killing.
But you were dressed as a cop, of course I'd startle like you're a monster. Did he say that? I totally missed that because I was telling my story. But yeah, so crazy fucking day yesterday.
Also, I'm pretty sure dressing up as a cop is illegal.
Is it?
Yes.
But like tons of people do that on Halloween.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of like dressing up laws go
I mean, as long as you're not like actively pretending to be a police officer, like
yeah.
it's legal. But also, I think that wearing a cop uniform should be illegal.
Yeah, it's true.
Especially if you're actually a cop.
Well, no, because you want them to be recognizable.
Right. Yeah, you need the enemy to.
And you want because I think they have their badge number on their uniform, so you kind of want that.
Yeah.
To be able to get them if they're mean.
Well, I mean, it's not like since the actual department's not going to do anything, you just need their name and badge number so you can dox them.
Maybe don't encourage doxing on my anonymous VTuber channel.
Okay, but I'm only encouraging the doxing of cops.
We do not encourage breaking the law in any way. No.
I do.
No.
I endorse the breaking of the law.
Be upstanding citizens.
Oh yeah, I'm a very upstanding citizen. That's why I hate cops.
Thank you. These are the best costumes. Look at my little bat bag. Isn't it cute?
Bat bag.
Where's Sadie?
She died.
Oh, she's in the town.
She's in town, yeah.
Yeah. We're done here, everybody. Let's go home.
Yeah, you gotta just go back to town real quick.
Zoom. What do we got? Yodeling, Black Widow, Moldy Pumpkin Guts.
Moldy Pumpkin Guts and 2-ply toilet paper are the best abilities.
Okay, let's give Moldy Pumpkin Guts to Everett. Applies an attackable stun to single enemy. Replace that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great. Anyway, time to go do the good thing.
Time to go do good thing.
Time to go do good thing. And by good thing, I mean go punch monster.
Let's go punch monster.
Punch monster with your pumpkin fireballs.
Punch monster with pumpkin's fireballs. Save game.
Pumpkin's fireballs.
Save game. Wow. Hey, you're the kids that are putting a wrench in Dorcilla's big plan, right? A monster! I don't want to fight you! I want to help you! Dorcilla wants to live in our world, and we don't want her there. Why don't we trust you? Because she's more cool to us than Big Bones himself. She's imprisoned my friends and me and his corn mates. Please help us! Take this grubbin costume pattern. It'll help you look like one of us so you can get past that guard. Okay. But why would I want to look like a grubbin?
So you can get past the guard. The grubbin costume has no combat abilities because they won't attack you while you're wearing it.
Okay. Gotta go get grubbin costume.
Yeah, you gotta go Korg maze.
Korg maze. Korg maze. Go through Korg maze. Oh.
As opposed to a Korg maze, which is a maze made out of electronic keyboards.
Yes.
This is a Korg maze. Which is corn said incorrectly.
Korg maze.
The joke is that corn is also called maize. So it's a maze.
Yeah. Why does it look like it's gonna rain?
Probably gonna rain.
Better not rain on my birthday.
It better rain on your birthday.
No!
Rain's good. We like rain.
Yeah, but not on Sunday. We'll be outside.
Why?
You know why. You know why.
Oh, right. Wait, we're being outside on there?
Yeah.
What are we doing outside?
The pottery painting?
Oh, that's outside?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was inside.
No.
Oh.
And then we come home and then we hang out outside.
Freeze freeze the mystic.
Oh, well, I froze the mug.
It doesn't matter.
I don't know. One of them's froze.
You are on fire now, though.
Yeah.
It's an attackable stun, so you can not worry about him for a little while.
Pew.
then just apply it to the other guy. Apply the stun to the other guy.
Oh yeah.
Stun the
both
TP,
of them.
Yeah, the TP has no cooldown. That's why it's the best thing ever.
I got it. All Hallows Eve.
That's actually not a great move to use right now.
But it hits them both.
But it halves their current hit points.
Oh yeah, whatever. It's cool. I do cool things.
It is cool. And then you bat.
And then I bat.
See, the vampire is great.
Look at the
it's
pumpkin
everybody
dance.
and also heals everybody.
Pumpkin dance. Pumpkin dance. Whatever could it mean?
It means don't talk to me.
It means you lived a life of sin.
It means you lived a life of sin.
It means you lived a life of sin.
Corn maze. It means Halloweens. Oh no!
He really just came for me.
The guy's just like,
I'm gonna fucking get you. They can't see that.
I know they can't. It was worth the joke anyway.
Penny got all up in my face because it was funny.
It was funny.
Miss-
Freeze the. Don't attack the mystic first. Freeze the mystic first.
Okay.
Take out the bombardiers. Just make sure the mystic can't do anything.
Pew. Two-ply
Let the
TTP.
poison do its work on the mystic and the bombardier. You just alternate who gets stunned by that.
Yeah.
Kablarg!
What? What?
Bleh,
What?
bleh,
What?
bleh.
Oh.
Spit flaming pumpkin guts at him. Bleh,
I got distracted.
bleh. See, in the next turn, you can do the All Hallows Eve, and it'll do like 200 damage. Forgot.
Yeah.
Now you just stun the bombardier. Bombardier.
Bombardier. Bombardier.
Bombardier.
Everybody stunned.
Yep.
All Hallows
Then you
Eve.
do that, and it does a shit ton of damage.
Wah.
Half their current hit points.
This is my
And
Pumpkin
then you
King.
do the bat in the hair, which can actually kill people.
Wah.
And it's a great combination.
Wah. Getting
Now
all the
just kill the
Franks.
mystic. Just kill the mystic. Bombardier stunned, just kill the mystic.
I don't get that joke, Kenj. I'm sorry. Human crackers and salmon rings.
Ew.
Ew.
If they were like actual like rings made of salmon, that would be fine.
Yeah, but not
I don't
candy.
think I think it's salmon flavored candy rings, and that's gross.
What is that? Cashmere?
Hey, nice robe. Hey, what is that? Cashmere? Hey, sweet dog. What do you feed him?
The Franks is a YouTuber that does true animal facts and says
Oh,
things.
Z Frank, yeah. It's about the
Oh.
tapir.
Oh, I don't know that one. I thought about best favorite animal. Today's best favorite animal. It's a dog's. It's always a dog's.
Don't worry about the mystic.
But if I hit the mystic, then everyone gets poisoned.
Oh, well then hit the mystic.
See, I'm smart.
Everyone except the mystic gets poisoned.
That's fine, because
Then you
he's
can
gonna be
freeze.
stunned.
Yeah. I'll show Jack, yeah. Just not right now, after the street.
Yeah. Penny knows. Penny
After the
understands.
strap, yeah.
Penny can hang.
Yeah, Penny can hang. Penny has committed many crimes and will hang for them.
What? I was gonna ask what crimes you committed, but actually, you should not tell me.
Oh, I'll tell you. Just not on the street.
Yeah. You don't wanna broadcast your crimes.
Rest assured, they are heinous.
Uh.
Stun the other assassin.
Yeah.
You've reached the point in the game where you actually gotta kind of use some strategy because the enemies are hitting hard enough that, like... Now that guy's dead. So, hit the Mystic.
Okay.
Oh, use All Hallows Eve. You can do tons of damage to both the Mystic and the Assassin.
Yeah, get Hallows Eved.
Even though it's like a, you know, cut in half kind of deal, it still does more damage than, like, the robot's missiles do on average. This guy's alright.
Someone somewheres, hear me out,
There's a
is the
unicorn
vampire.
pellets. Now you just need one more of those.
Yeah.
And you can give it to that kid.
But I don't want to go all the way back.
Yeah, but if you did, you'd get the costume.
I don't really care about the costume.
Okay. Well, in that case, don't worry about it. Just maybe don't. Where are you going? That's the wrong way.
I'm going this way.
Well, that's the wrong way.
Are you sure?
Yes, you're right back where you started. See?
Okay.
When are you going to learn to trust me?
Never.
That's probably wise.
Because the minute I do, you'll do something to break that trust.
I mean, I do a lot of duplicitous things, but, like... You gotta go save that grubbin guy.
Save what?
For the honor of cadaverous big bones.
I don't want to fight these guys.
Well, you're gonna fight him anyway.
I'm bored.
Honestly, you could use the XP, because Big Bones is no joke.
Yeah, it's like Pokemon. This is around the same point in Pokemon when I get really tired of hitting things.
You're just like, I just want to fight the interesting stuff.
Yeah. Like the random encounters start to grate on my ADHD.
Press Whaler.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're bored doing them, you can let me do them, and I'll have fun fighting.
Oh yeah, yeah. You.
If you're bored of the combat, I'll play the combat.
Yeah, you do the combat. Gotta befriend enemies. Yeah, magical friendship beam. Zubat Cave killed Jack. I don't remember a Zubat
first
Cave.
Off, it's called Mount Moon, and second off, fuck that. Fuck Mount Moon.
Gotta check on mine.
Time for Halloween.
I don't remember playing a Zubat Cave. Maybe I missed that game.
That's the original.
Oh yeah, never mind.
That's red and blue, or fire red, leaf green.
I've never played.
Yeah, but Zubat Cave just kind of refers to any cave that's like full of random encounters of like low-level enemies.
Yeah. The bike path in Diamond and Pearl, I think it is, where you have to do like the bike race, but then it goes through this cave and there's a bunch of low-level enemies there. Oh my gosh, so boring.
It's especially bad when
Level up.
you're in an area where like the enemies can do the Zubat thing of I'm using supersonic now.
Yeah. Go up. Go up.
I can't.
Yeah, you can.
No, I can't.
No, you can't. You
go up
totally
from-
can.
No, you can't go up from there.
Excuse me, are you the bearded lady?
You cannot go up from there. It is blocked off. You have to go around. Trust
It looks
me.
like you can.
It looks like you can, but you can't.
That's rude.
It's so.
They got 2 healers.
Yep. It's
Damn.
not gonna matter.
Penny's like, I got this.
Yeah, I do got this.
Still waiting for the Cherry Poppin' Daddy's Pokemon crossover of Zubat Riot. What?
Zubat Riot, Riot.
Oh, yeah. Very good. I'm like, who the fuck is Cherry Poppin' Daddy? I don't like that name.
They wrote, Toot Toot Riot.
Mm-hmm.
Riot!
Unfortunately, I only know the Weird Al version of that song.
Grapefruit diet. Diet!
My jokes are clearly tailor-made for Penny. You are of the same generation, I think.
Oh, I forgot.
Or similar.
I forgot to dodge.
I was just telling Penny about this the other day. I'm like, oh, you're 40? Oh, you're older than Penny then. But I am like,
demonetization.
No demonetization. Don't demonetize me. I'm like too old to get my peers' jokes and too young to understand my siblings' jokes. I'm in such a weird zone. Such a weird zone.
See, what did I fucking say? It was a trick.
Trick.
Found some dirty socks.
Trick or treat.
I'll trick your treat.
What?
I don't know.
I don't like the way you said that.
Me neither.
Zoom! Zoom time.
Yeah.
Isn't it so much fun to just zoom around? It's the best power.
Mm-hmm.
The best power.
Hundo%.
Hundo percento. Well,
oops, I read face first into a crest whaler.
Sure did.
That's fine. It's robot time. It could be robot time for a little bit.
Robot time.
That's fine.
Yay! Robot time.
I fucked up.
Nice. I'm an elder millennial, but my siblings are Gen X and cuspers, so I'm able to cross the lines of the generational gap. Yeah, instead of being able to cross, well, like, I can cross some lines of, like, the because my siblings are all millennials and I'm, like, a zillennial. Because I'm not really a Gen Z and I'm not really a millennial.
I'm a younger millennial and Jack is a zillennial.
I'm, like, right in between. Like, when you look up where the generation... When you look up where the generation divide is between millennials and Gen Z, my birthday is either in millennial or Gen Z. Like, they cannot figure out where the heck I am. So, yeah, millennial Gen Z cusper. So, yeah. It's, I get some references and others just go straight over my head. But I get millennial nostalgia more than I get Gen Z nostalgia. So, yeah. But I don't get any of the 90s stuff. I get a lot of the technology stuff though, because my dad was big into technology.
Why am I so bad at that?
Well, I'll show you some of my nostalgia tomorrow, because tomorrow we're doing birthday stuff. Tomorrow's my birthday. Tomorrow's my birthday.
Tomorrow is their birthday.
Today
is your birthday. That's a joke that exactly one person in the audience might get.
She's not here.
She's not even here. Got a grubbin mask.
Neither one of the people who would get that is here.
Yep. Three.
There are three people who would get that, and none of them are here. The other one that nobody is gonna get is KP. It's your birthday.
It's your birthday?
That's one of Penny's teachers.
Yeah, Miss Kirkpatrick was one of my high school teachers.
You're grubbin now. Yay! Dude, it's me in a costume, chill. Well, weird. You kind of look like my mom. You can just hit it?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. Wow, that was easy. You couldn't fight him.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna fight him?
No, I'm gonna fight him.
Okay.
So I'm gonna play until the boss fight,
Okay.
and then you can fight Big Bones.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm chill with that. I'm hanging out with chat.
Yeah, you're hanging out with chat, and you're doing good chat things, and I'm doing bad chat things.
KP, is your birthday?
Yeah, and one of my friends, there was a running joke, and by joke I mean, it's kind of mean. I feel kind of bad about it now. But we were in high school, so Miss Kirkpatrick was my English teacher, and for some reason, one of my friends had decided to start this thing where every day somebody would say, like, Miss KP, it's your birthday? I didn't know it was your birthday, and then everybody would start singing happy birthday. It happened like every single day.
That's so annoying.
It was really obnoxious.
It's funny now, but I bet if I was in that classroom, I would want to kill all of you.
I'm pretty sure Miss KP wanted to kill all of us. She laughed, but it was in that I'm going to murder these children kind of way.
Oh, man.
Miss KP was really cool. I felt bad for her.
Well, you know, when kids do that in your class, though, it means you're their favorite, so.
Yeah.
It means you're a good teacher, even if it's annoying. It means you're a good teacher. We always used to tease my English/art teacher, Gil. We didn't call him. Some people call him Mr. G, but most of us just called him Gil, because Mr. Gilmartin was too long. But so we just called him Gil, and we'd be like, we'd come over and like look at his computer, and he always had so many tabs. He always had so many tabs. We need to celebrate the little things. Like this, you mean? I'll show you little. Oh, it's this guy again.
Do you want to fight Metzel?
Yeah, I'll fight Metzel.
Just give me a second. Want us to come over there? No, stay there and await your... here we are.
Anyways, Gil had...
You want us to come over there? Or...
Gil had too many tabs. Always. Just like hundreds of tabs. And we would come over and just be like, dude, what the fuck? Why you got so many tabs? Or like he would project it on the wall and someone would be like, Gil, what the fuck? Why you got so many tabs? Yeah, he always... And then, well, eventually he just refused to close. At first he was like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I'll close some of the tabs. But eventually he was just like, no, I'll add more tabs. And every time someone, thank you for the bits. Every time someone would comment on the tabs, he would add more tabs.
Hello, cat-like bat.
Hi, cat.
Bits.
Thank you for the bits. Thank you for 10 cents of bits.
Yeah, that's more than most people give, so, like...
Yeah.
Welcome.
This just sounds like everyone at my work. This is Gil! You remember how he was. You went to my school. Yeah. Oh.
Speaking of bats.
Yeah. Speaking of bats. He was chill. Yeah, he was the best.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting the bosses are immune to the stuns.
When was he not chill? I don't remember him ever being not chill. I love the pumpkin dance.
Pumpkin dance. Pumpkin dance. It means we won this fight.
Wow, he didn't even have any dialogue afterwards. He just exploded.
He just died. Yeah, he's dead now.
Get all the candy.
Candy. Okay, you should unequip the stun now and equip the revive.
Yes. That's this one. Critical existence failure. He got mad at me one time after you left. Mostly because he went to yell at the other... Oh! Not mad at me. Yeah. He got mad one time.
Got mad at the other teacher.
Miss N? I'm not gonna out her. I'm not gonna out her because she was a bitch. But Kat knows who I'm talking about if I say Miss N.
Okay, now put the pumpkin back on.
Hang on, I want to get all this key.
No, put the pumpkin back on. There's boss fight coming up.
Okay.
Final boss is coming up. Oh, never mind. You gotta do the robot again. I guess it'll warn you when the final boss is about to happen.
She kicked me out of her room while I was having a panic. That sounds like her. She was such a bitch.
Hello, Dorsilla.
Trick or treat.
Trick.
That's sweet. And such nice costumes. Well, let me see if I have any candy for you nice children. Oh, here's a nice big piece right here. The only problem is, I don't think it wants to go with you. In fact, this candy never wants to see you again. Priscilla's taking me somewhere far away where I'll be appreciated. She got fired? Oh my god, my birthday's just been made. Sorry, I hated that teacher. She was very mean to me. Interesting. Will we all be in positions of royalty on the other side? And we'll rule for 1,000 years, but when we come back, only 10 minutes have passed? What? No. He'll be dressed up as candy, tossed in a sack, and handed over to Big Bones to satisfy my debt. What he does with you, frankly, is none of my concern. We're not coming with you, my brother's not coming with you, and no one is touching our costumes. Well then. So much for treat. Get wrecked, bitch.
Priscilla's cool.
But yeah, to talk a little bit about this teacher that sucked. Ooh, I love her big form. She's so pretty.
The big forms are really cool.
Yeah, they're really cool. Get rectangled. She once I am not a huge fan of the way America teaches history. And this particular teacher really wanted to teach us about all of the horrible things that happened in history and none of the kind of cool things that happened in history, which I understand. You have to learn about those things. You have to know about those things. The problem is that I already know about those things. And I said, hey, this stuff makes me really uncomfortable and I have a hard enough time at school. Can I do a project on fashion history and get credit for that instead? And she said, yeah, that's fine, I guess. And I was like, great, I'm gonna do that. I did this whole project. I made like this whole PowerPoint presentation on fashion history and Victorian fashion. And then I gave it to her and she never graded it. And I had an F in her class. And I was like, hey, why do I have an F in your class? I gave you that project. And you said you would grade that project and like give me a fair grade. And she was like, no, I didn't. So she's trying to fucking gaslight me.
Jesus Christ.
When we had proof because she emailed my mom about it. So we had actual proof.
Oh, you should probably run from this fight and come back with the stun.
Okay. Yeah, so she sucked. Yeah. Anyways. So yeah, she sucked
So
a lot.
equip the rotten egg.
The rotten egg.
Yeah.
On Everett.
Lucy.
But Lucy has the.
Oh yeah, Everett. Everett's fine. That's good. It's a good thing for Everett to do.
Okay.
Because you need a stun. I was gonna say Everett could have the single target poison.
I could give that to
You
Ren.
can give that to Ren. Yeah, that's a good setup.
Okay.
And just skip this.
Yeah.
Cutscene, because we've already seen it.
We've already done that.
We've already cutscene it.
Yeah. So she was the worst.
So only use the stun when she's charging up.
She's one of those like people who's like, I won't respect you if you don't respect me, but then doesn't do anything to earn that respect. You know?
When people say I won't respect you unless you respect me, what they actually mean is I won't respect you unless you obey me.
Yeah. Unstunnable. Though it does seem to distract her.
Yeah, so only use the stun when she's charging.
Well, but it also poisoned her. Oh, the first attack.
The first attack was.
Yeah. More books. Moxie, I need you to cleanse me.
Hit the one charging up.
Okay. I'll get the hose. No, I mean magic.
Now hit the distract. Hit her with the distract.
Yeah. Moxie wasn't here for the story, so I'll just quickly tell it again. Yesterday, the ice machine at the game cafe was. I'll get the hose full of water. Yesterday, the ice machine at the game cafe was broken, and then our friend's train exploded, and they had to evacuate, and then we...
Hit the boss while you're telling the story. Look, I just want to make sure we have enough time to get through 3 games.
It's fine.
At the end of the movie. You hit the wrong guy.
Whatever. Yeah, I'll get to that part. So... So, we got them an Uber, and then we waited an hour, and the Uber was still across the bridge, so, we decided to walk home, and then we almost got hit by a car, and there were a lot of crows, and a black cat came and nuzzled my leg. That part was good. And then we got home, and they still hadn't gotten across the bridge. And then Penny left her part of her Switch charger somewhere. It was a lot. It was a lot. There was a lot happening yesterday, and I feel like I need like a tarot reading or something.
Right, there was something in the air.
There was something in the air.
Also, apparently, someone almost hit Grandma on the way when she was on the way over.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, the drivers are being like absolutely.
Mercury is in Gatorade or some shit. Yeah, I feel like we need to smudge the house.
I feel like
none of them are charging up, so.
Yeah. None of them are charging up, so the stun won't do any good.
Like, oh my god. It's just ridiculous.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's a type of vegetable. You can survive another round.
Okay.
And then you can heal from the bats.
Oh yeah, I can heal from the bats.
If the bats are an AoE.
Heal the bats.
Looks like, even though it does, like, half of their hit points, technically,
Mm-hmm.
It seems like All Hallows Eve, caps out at around 390 to 400 damage.
Well, it's still better.
So, that's still a lot of damage.
It's still a lot of damage. Never talk to me or my green sister ever again. She's green because she's poisoned.
The Poisson Steve.
Poisson Steve. Il est orange.
Okay, you should heal Ren.
Yeah, I poisoned her.
La Poison Steve.
These guys look like the spider lady from James and the Giant Peach.
They do, kinda. It's Dorsilla times 3.
It's Dorsilla times treat.
Times tree.
Yep, that's what I said.
Yeah.
You mean an absolute bad?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a baddie. I'm bad at everything.
I'm bad at everything.
Who, Dorsilla or the spider lady?
It's charging up again.
You can actually let her charge for one turn, I think.
Or I could just hit her.
Yeah.
Bonk. You made me lose my train of thought. Yeah, that's the point. Spider lady. Spider lady can
You
get
need to
it.
start fucking blocking better.
I'm trying.
It's okay, she'll be back.
She'll be back.
She'll be back in like one turn, it's fine.
That's why we gave her the heal.
So don't use Batten the hair yet.
Yes.
Use that next turn, and hopefully Everett lives. Everett will be.
Okay, okay. Fire.
Okay, you may have to do it now. Or else Everett's gonna die.
Yeah.
Lucy can heal herself.
Lucy can heal herself. There we go. I gotta focus.
Yeah, gotta folk up.
Gotta folk up. There she is.
There she is. One of the Dorsillas is almost down.
Yep. Heal time. Although maybe I should have healed Everett instead.
No, Everett has more defense and more health.
Okay.
It hits everybody. It doesn't matter who you're targeting.
I know, but for some reason I wanted to.
I mean, that's fine. Next turn,
She's
Everett can heal.
poisoned, so should I? Or just...
Hit her. Just hit her. You want fewer people attacking you. Also,
There we go.
That was the real one, so...
Oh, cool.
You can tell it's the real one because it takes less damage.
Oh.
And also, it's the only one that...
I got a bat stamp.
Yeah.
Priscilla, you wanted to leave this horrible world. Why won't you let it go? You too beautiful. Or why won't it let you go? Oh, please. No one understands me here.
Okay, so change your stamps around first.
Okay. Large HP recovery per turn. Kinda like that.
That's, this is a good setup. You want this.
Yeah. Sorry. Wait, what? Oh, I don't really want to buy. I don't have any money. I don't think so anyway. I'll try to buy this balloon, but I don't think yeah, no, I can't. Can't get the balloon. Goodbye. Shop guy. Okay. Yes, I like this, I think. Should I...
No.
No? Oh yeah, because I guess the boss... Yeah.
For the boss, you want the single target guaranteed poison.
When Jack leans in to see the screen and the VTuber goes like, I think I put this over my face.
Yeah.
So it can't track if there's nothing, if it... I lean in like this.
Ew. Don't do that.
You can also lean further back. He's good. It's my brother. Bother me right now unless you want an even bigger fight on your hands. Sounds good to me. We're ready for a fight. Agreed. The possibility exists, however, that we could be more ready.
If you talk to her one more time, that'll initiate the final boss fight.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I'm not leaving here without my brother. Throw me one more time, you'll have a fight on your hands that is, in a word, big. Okay. I'll fight you.
Now it's time. Now this is the final boss fight.
This is embarrassing. What? The failure of all your hopes and dreams? No, having to call for backup. I summoned the voracious, the insatiable, cadaverous big bones. Well,
His bones are too big.
his bones are Sans Undertale. This is what happens.
Candy time.
Boss, I'm sorry, but those children took your candy.
What?
Beep. Message forwarded. Huh? It's that speaker Dorian gave you. Dorian, it's me, Darcilla. Listen, you don't have to worry about me. I'm only hanging out with these idiot monsters long enough to trick them into taking me to Repugia. Once I'm in, I can easily use my powers to get rid of Big Bones and that big tub of goo. Then I will be the ruler of Repugia, not Big Bones, that fat loser. Oh.
That's good business.
That's my line. Tub of goo? I'll turn you into a tub of goo.
You will never set foot in Repugia. Never.
You can't do that. We had a deal.
Get out of my sight. The deal's off.
Wow.
I almost don't have the energy to eat these children now.
You have beautiful eyes. I'm doing that, jerk. Ooh.
We're getting powered up.
Ooh.
Fine, I'll just work up more of an appetite that way. Kids, have no fear. You'll like it in my stomach. It smells great in there. I just ate a bunch of bacon.
Wow.
Oh.
Get wrecked. It's not doing a ton of damage.
It's doing plenty of damage.
Whoa. Alright. Big Chungus skeleton.
Yeah.
Big Chungus
Big chunk of skeleton.
can subsist off of what I eat. You'll be the best tapeworm I ever had. All Hallows Eve.
All Hallows Eve.
It's All Hallows Eve. The pumpkin is my favorite. I love him so much.
He's great. Also, he's just really powerful. I believe that against bosses like this, he does 10% of their health instead of half. Which is still a lot of damage.
Still a lot of damage.
Also, Everett's basically invincible here.
Yeah. Everett's great. Should I do...
Yeah. We need Ren and Lucy to heal.
Yeah. Save that big heal for if I need it.
Mm-hmm. When he inevitably does
That.
this.
Ew.
Now is a good time to use the big heal.
Yeah.
So that his scythe swipe can't finish you off.
Bats, bats, bats. We're the bats.
Bats. Bats.
We're the bats.
We pray at night. We stalk
Suck
at night.
We're the bats. I'm the giant rat that makes all of the rules.
See what
kind of trouble we can get ourselves into. Oh, I was too slow because I was jamming to rats.
Oh no, it just doesn't shit ton of damage. It does like 400 damage. I was wrong, it's not actually percentage based.
Unfortunately, I can't heal Ren right now.
That's okay, Ren will live. Because Lucy's getting targeted.
Mm-hmm. I want to eat his eyes.
They do look delicious. They're like swirly peppermints.
Yeah, swirly peppermints.
Speaking of bats.
Bat time.
Bat.
Get bats.
Yeah, your special moves charge faster in this fight, if you haven't noticed already.
Well, that feels like...
so good. That will pick me up.
Nom nom nom.
That's the sugar Papa likes.
Whoa. Uh-oh.
It looks like he healed, but he didn't.
I would 100% get cursed by eating glowing candy. It's a good thing Everett's basically invincible.
Yep.
Heal Lucy?
Heal Lucy.
That's how I feel when I eat too much in my 30s.
Good thing you healed Lucy.
All Hallows Eve!
Halloween. All Hallows Steve.
Il est orange.
Je.
Il a des bras et des jambes.
Bad news for you about the 40s. World War II.
Oh, Lucy's down.
That's fine. Big Bones is gonna go down soon enough. And Lucy will get back up.
Yeah, Lucy will get back up.
Bat heal, bat heal, bat heal.
Okay. I was gonna save that for when Lucy got back up, but yeah, you're right.
Bat heal.
It's like being cursed by a wizard. What is this angle? Ow.
You win.
Still fucking
Pumpkin
hurts.
fire.
Pumpkin fire! Wah, wah. I mean, sure, my back hurts for no reason, but 40 isn't that bad. That just sounds like my 20s. My back also hurts for no reason, I say with shrimp-like posture. Come and get it! Did we win?
Yeah.
Ah! Hey, save some for us. Alright, we'll just drop off some candy at the mall and then it's straight back to Auburn Pines. Shall be so. Hey guys, can we make a pact? Can we promise to do this every Halloween? Yes! Yes!
No!
No! Maybe. Why do I feel like that was too easy?
It's just an easy game.
Oh. Okay, Lucy and Everett, I called both your parents. And they both said it's fine if you stay over. Look at their stupid faces. Wonder if they're as happy as I am about their kids making friends tonight. Mom! Mom! I started one! I started a Costume Quest TTRPG. Dad tax.
Yep.
Dad tax. I should redo that.
We gotta
restart that.
Yeah. Because now I want to play/run that.
I want to run it.
Oh, I want to play in it, so.
Yeah. I pick caramel. Ooh, good move. I pick sour snails. Ew, I pick black licorice. You're calling me ew? I love black licorice. You can have one of mine, sis, if you give me your package of astronaut flan. It's a deal, bro. Oh, hi, Dorian. Okay, I pick white chocolate knuckles. You can't pick on the same turn that you swap. Yes, you can. Look, I know things were different in your old town, but I'm picking prickly pucks. It was my turn. Can't wait forever, babe. You just call me babe. I love Everett and Lucy's relationship.
They are
so much. Well, we have some time.
Yeah.
Shall we start?
We
oh my
have
god,
an
look
hour.
at the little kid pictures.
Yep.
That's so cute.
Halloween pictures of the robot, yeah. Go back. Start new game, Grubbins on Ice.
Start new game, Grubbins on Ice in slot 2.
We have to get strong as fuck Ice Mummy.
Let's go.
You guys know about strong as fuck Ice Mummy, right?
No. It's freezing, Lucy. Aren't you sure you wouldn't rather be playing back at my house watching Mysterious Eyeball Theater and eating kettle corn? I just refuse to believe that all evidence of Monster World completely vanished into thin air. From a scientific point of view, that's extremely improbable. So if we find something that proves this theory of yours, can we go home? Definitely. Because if I can find something really tangible, I'll be able to prove the existence of Repugia to the scientific community. He'll be a legend, the first 4th grader to win a Nobel Prize. Let's not get carried away, Av. Well, you certainly should win some sort of prize. I mean, you're just, you're, well, I mean, it's just like you're really, oh, hey, that's something tangible. I live kettle corn.
Mysterious Eyeball Theater does sound like an amazing show.
Yeah, I want to watch Mysterious Eyeball Theater. Can anyone hear me? I wasn't expecting that. Uh-oh. Lucy? Lucy? Uh-oh. Seriously, Everett, why do we need our costumes for this?
So, this also raises
have to be
some
prepared for the
interesting
worst.
questions. Clearly, the costume power works on days other than Halloween.
But Dorian made sure that Dorsilla wouldn't be able to open the portal again. Guys, look! Whoop. Portal. A quarter! Reynold!
Reynold, you might want to turn around.
Oh. Reynold, you oblivious little guy. This is bad. We have to go in there and get Lucy back. Ren, you go first. What? Nuh-uh. Reynold, your face will scare away any monsters waiting to ambush us on the other side. You go first. The leader should go first. Not it.
Not it.
Not it. Not it. Why are we wasting time deciding who goes first in that horrifying vortex of doom? Let's do this the fair way. Whoever I point out will be our leader, okay?
Ren or Reynold?
Ren. Ren was our gal last time, so we got
Ren time.
It's Ren time. Ren, our new fearless leader. And Monster Shield. Look at the models fucked up.
Yeah. You should take good comfort knowing you're in such good hands. Now get in that deadly vortex.
So the Grubbin says candy, but you hardly know me.
Yeah, that's a good one, Araxia.
Yeah, candy, I get it.
Oh, please, spare the fake laughter. If you don't think my joke is funny, you can just say so.
Okay, it's not funny. It doesn't even make any sense.
Is that right? Well, maybe you need to work on your sense of humor. 2 weeks of bathroom duty should fix that.
Oh, man. Oh, look, kids.
Finally, the portal is paying itself. All right, I'll just candy coat these twerps and it's off to Big Bones.
Did he just say Big Bones? Run! Lucy! Uh-oh.
these candy corn smells take forever to charge. Take care of these kids and maybe I'll reconsider the whole bathroom duty thing. I'm taking this one straight to the candy cage. Uh-oh.
Not the candy cage.
Let's go!
Let's fucking go!
Let's fucking go!
Shame they give you fucking awful costumes.
What? Robot's great.
I mean, they give you Robot Knight, but then they also give you fucking Spaceman.
Yeah, and Robot has Jawbone.
They
Everett
also
has...
give you, like, unfortunate sticker combos. Like,
Yeah. Alright, anyways.
anyway, the main reason you can't win this fight is that they don't give you a good setup.
Probably on purpose.
Yeah. Also, these guys are 4 levels higher than you. Even though you start at level 10.
Wow. They hit hard.
I don't even know what the eyeballs do.
Yeah, I can't remember what the eyeballs do.
I also don't remember what the tombstone does.
The tombstone gives you extra health.
Mm. Well, that's good for the spaceman at least, because the spaceman has no friggin' health by default.
I'm not doing too bad.
No, it's not like a curb stomp, it's just unwinnable.
Yeah.
So you can shield ground units. Oh well, whatever.
It's fine.
You're not gonna win this either way, so... And it literally doesn't matter if you win it or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they hit hard
Yep, they hit too hard for you to,
for us to possibly win this.
Yep.
You just kind of delay the inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like even with perfect timing,
Yep.
that's just, yeah.
Even with perfect timing and special usage, it's over. You need stronger costumes.
The cheaters didn't even let us roll for initiative. Wow, you really sneeze that loud? Oh, geez, it sounds like you're faking it to get attention.
Oh,
Sorry,
no.
Trowbugs.
Those Trowbogs broke your fall, and also they're broken now.
More recruits from the sky. Did you come to join the revolution? To help us overthrow Araxia?
Revolution?
Yeah, we got one brewing. We're not really into Araxia's oppressive ruling style.
Tell me about it. He just depressed us off that cliff. You can help us get our friend back. We're in.
That sounds fair. But first, we'll need numbers if we're gonna take down Araxia's monster gate.
How do we do
that.
I need you to go door to door and find some more recruits. Maybe some candy donations.
Well, it's trick-or-treating. We're pros at that.
I just knew you'd be solid recruits. Just follow the path to town and start knocking. Also, headquarters is just ahead if you want to take on more of a cause. Viva Rapugia!
Okay, so there are 3 special costumes in this DLC.
Yeah.
2 of which you get by default. And 1 of which is the eyeball.
We want the eyeball.
We want the eyeball because the eyeball's really strong.
Whoa.
Neglected realms.
How about we're in another dimension?
Can you hit the thing blocking you?
Probably. Yeah. Ah. Hoppa. Get all this candy. Put it in my mouth. Eat the candy. Ta-da!
You found a tracksuit.
Tracksuit. Monsters are smelly, but they're also surprisingly friendly. Yeah, but mostly they're smelly. Stinky
Okay,
monsters.
so you can't get the last piece of the eyeball costume until you get the pirate costume, but you can get the other ones just fine.
Mm-hmm. Hang on, I think there's
So
more
first thing
in
you're
this
gonna want
maze
to do
over here.
is head to the bridge.
Hang on. I think there's more that I missed in this maze.
There almost assuredly is. Go through the middle path of the mini maze. That's where you want to be anyway.
Yep.
Because the pattern is in the maze.
Hey, what are you doing here? Man, they're just kidnapping kids.
You just killed that slug.
No, it was just a pile of candy.
No, that was a little slug guy.
It was not a little slug guy.
Well, when you find another one, I'll show you that it was a little slug guy. See, look.
Oh, it is.
It's a little slug guy and you murdered him.
I didn't realize he was a little guy.
Okay, go, down.
Hi.
Actually, no.
Yeah. Deviled egg. Mummy gauze. Oh, yeah. Auto-resurrect self after one turn with all HP restored. Ooh.
Yeah, that's great. The 2-ply toilet paper is great. The moldy pumpkin guts are great.
Wait, these are all the ones that I already had.
Not
I
anymore.
gotta get them all out. I gotta get them all again?
Yeah.
That sucks. Greatly increased critical strike damage. Attack power.
Yeah, you have to.
It
you have to
increased
get all of the-
HP.
You have to get all of the costumes and other stuff again, because that's
Secret cave.
This is all you brought with you.
Wow. You the leader here?
What's a leader? Oh, hey, nice disguises. You guys are good at disguises.
We've had a lot of practice.
We had a disguise maker, but he was taken away by the guards. We found this on his desk.
Pirate costume. Sweet costume pattern.
It's barely his masterwork, but I can't understand how to read it.
You were holding it upside down.
See, you guys are out of my league. Maybe you'll have better luck putting it together. The material are guarded by some trusted monsters in town. Find them and tell them that Cranston sent you.
Cool. Thanks, Cranston. I'm gonna take all your candy.
Yeah. Anyway, if you want those eyeball parts, I can tell you where they are.
Yeah, there's one of them right here.
No. But there is a bunch of candy.
Bunch of candy.
Get candy from everything except the slugs.
I
They're
didn't.
cute.
I like the
See,
slugs.
they're cute.
Cute little guys.
Okay, so you have the pattern and the tracksuit.
Yeah.
So the only the last piece you can get right now is just south of the gate, blocking you from moving forward.
Cool. If I played on slot 1, would it just completely override everything that I...
No, they're
Oh.
considered separate.
Would it have given me any benefit?
No.
Okay.
We're finally somewhere to focus my anger.
Whatever.
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 Whatever. Couldn't have given you like Statue of Liberty or like.
Anything that heals?
No, because then you could have won that fight.
It could have just, like, kept calling in reinforcements.
And it could have gone on forever. Then they gave me the worst costume in the game. 2 pretty good costumes and 1 that's terrible.
Not that bad.
Honestly, the Spaceman is pretty awful. Like, sure, it's got high attack power, but it has such low HP, and, like, its ability is only single target.
Yeah.
is really just not that useful. They couldn't have given you, like, pumpkin unicorn and fucking vampire.
No.
No, that'd be too good.
Be too good. Because if we had that, we would have won.
Yeah, because that's the best.
Because it's
Those
the
are
best.
costumes. Well, the new costumes you got are really good. The pirate eyeball and yeti.
Yeah.
Strongest fuck ice mummy.
Strongest fuck ice mummy. Is south from here?
It was a Tumblr post.
Down here?
Yeah, drop down there.
Ta-da!
And then you get the crepe paper.
Creepy paper.
The creepy paper, yeah.
Creepy paper.
And then the last one you need the pirate outfit to get. So you gotta go talk to the NPCs around town that'll give you some.
Yeah. Gotta go through here and collect candy. There's like something to this maze at some point. I think. I went the wrong way.
So it's Strongest Fuck Ice Mummy is an example of people on Tumblr just yes-anding each other.
Yeah, Tumblr's really good at that.
So talk to everybody, and maybe they'll give you, like, they might give you stuff.
Something about dirt clods. Hello, old man. What's a pagoda? The eldest grubbin. That means I get a pagoda. Oh. I used to run this place, but now I'm just Araxia's puppet. Anyway, now is not a good time. I'm too distraught. Please go away. Sorry, buddy.
But yeah, Strongest Fuck Ice Mummy is, it's just, a few weeks ago I needed Worcestershire sauce for a recipe, but I didn't have any, so I had to leave it out. You are never gonna believe what I found in the cabinet today, unopened, probably has been there for months. A Strongest Fuck Ice Mummy? Yup, my house is fucked. It's this picture of a frozen over house.
Strongest fuck ice mummy. You're never gonna guess what I found.
Strongest fuck ice mummy? Yup, my house is fucked. I would focus on getting the new costumes before you do the combat.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Because right now, all of your shit sucks.
Well, but I thought that I had to trick or treat to.
No, you have to talk to people outside the houses to get the costumes.
What if I just don't?
Then you won't be able to complete the game.
I meant don't the fight.
Oh, don't the fight. What if I just don't the fight?
What if I don't the fight?
So, talk to the guys who are, wearing berets.
That guy.
Who posts a few feet to the left.
Slug. Look at his little face!
Dude!
He's
He's
so
got a little face! And you murdered
I
one.
didn't know! An ear scraper? Yes, ear scraper. Okay, there's one more somewhere.
Yeah, there's another guy around. That guy. There might be... Oh, go up there. Go up the wooden planks.
Walk the plank.
Nope.
This
That
guy.
guy.
Give me that.
Yeah.
Pirate time.
You can check out the pirate's abilities. Oh, I forgot you actually do have more costumes.
Oh, we do have more costumes. Okay, hang on. We want pirate.
You don't have all the costumes, but you have some of them. You want pirate, and you want knight and Statue of Liberty.
Statue of Liberty. There we go.
What does the pirate do again?
You can swing on the.
No,
things.
I mean it's combat abilities.
Oh,
It's an attack type.
Summons a ship that lets loose a barrage of cannon fire, damaging all enemies.
Nice. It's an upgrade to the robot.
Yeah. Okay, how do I get out of here now?
Right. I think there might be a thing you can break.
Gotta be a thing I can.
Oh no, there's a ramp there. Down, down, there. Walk out.
Oh. Okay.
Oh look, a hidden kid.
A guy. Hey.
Anyway,
buddy.
now that you have that, head back to where you found the first eyeball piece.
In the cave.
No, not there. Go to cross the bridge. Go across the bridge. Yeah, go fast across the bridge. Now, don't take that. Don't take that.
I'm not.
Go right. Down.
Yeah, the cave.
Yeah, but take the zip line this time that you couldn't take before.
Yeah. Bitch. Where's it? There we go. Yeah. Some way to hook onto it. I got it. I did it. I hooked onto it. Is this the one that's very specific? And it's like a maze?
No, that's later.
Oh, okay. I remember that part. I remember it annoying me.
There's just a bunch of shit down here.
Yay!
A bunch of candy.
A bunch of candy!
We do have enough to go buy some actually good stamps.
Yeah.
And then there's the wire mesh.
Our mesh!
Bling.
Alright,
Now
so
you're an eyeball.
we want Eyeball, Pirate, and Lady Liberty?
Lady Liberty, yeah.
What's the Eyeball's power?
Cries. It lets you see good.
Sure does.
In combat, he cries.
He cries.
Yeah.
Same.
Anyway, time for trick or treat.
Trick or
But first,
treat. Hi, Shady. Okay, what do we want?
First thing
Headless
we want
Banshee.
is the 2-ply toilet paper. Because that's the best.
Give that to
Reynolds.
Reynolds.
Or Everett. I don't know. Give Everett more HP.
Okay.
What is the eyeballs roll again? Can you check that for me? Melee attack, yeah. It's a single target burst damage.
Yeah.
Also, you can check their stats, like their stat changes from the costumes.
Alright. Trick or treat. Our revolution was better than yours. Eyeball. I like the pirate too. He looks really cool.
Yeah, the skeleton pirate guy.
Niagara Falls is so stupid.
Yep.
Wow. Get wrecked. 2-ply TP.
Yeah, freezy eye.
Wheeze, bitch.
Honestly, I think the best endgame combination. This is going to be the best combination for a while, but I think the best endgame combination is going to be pirate, either pirate or eyeball,
Yeah.
and then Yeti and Lady Liberty.
Mm-hmm. Just kill that guy.
It's functionally the same, except that guy dies.
Functionally the same except that guy dies. Niagara Falls. Oh no, an onion.
There's a little bit of splash damage, but
Dead men tell no tales. Get wrecked.
see, it's just straight up an upgrade to the robot's ability.
Yeah. The shield
Like you
and
can use a
glasses.
single glass to block.
Yeah.
Finish off that hurler.
Yeah, why are you still alive? Why are you still here?
What are you even doing here?
What are you even doing here, man?
She doesn't even go here.
She didn't even go here. Haha. Stunned.
I like the little
Yeah, I like the pirates.
flappy eyeball is
What? Oh,
paused.
I didn't know I could do that.
I didn't either. I thought the game crashed.
Me too. I
I
was
was
really
really scared.
worried.
You should save your game.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Slug.
What is
It's like
it?
a little sea cucumber.
This little happy little
He's a
guy.
little happy little sea cucumber guy.
This happy little guy.
Yeah. It's his birthday.
It's his birthday. It's my birthday.
By the way, that one you splatted, he's okay.
Oh, thank God, because I accidentally just did another one. Because I thought I was hitting the plant. I didn't see
Oh
him.
no.
I thought I was
They'll be okay, they
hitting the
reform.
plant.
It's fine. It's fine, they reform, don't worry about it.
Okay. I am worried about it.
Don't worry about it.
Yay! Here's a donation to absolve my guilt.
They just reform.
They reform.
Gummy worm looking ass.
Here.
Gummy worm.
Gumby worm.
Gumby worm.
Gumby worm.
So I think
This guy's got a crown.
Yeah,
Why?
he's a guy.
Is he gonna fight me if I talk to him?
No. He's not gonna talk to you. He's too busy.
The way that water slime is rendered is awful.
What about the guy in? What about the little slug guy in the water?
He's good. He's good.
He's good.
He's good.
He's good. Just a little guy.
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 Thing to smack.
Yeah, you'll have to come back here later for a different mission.
Okay.
The thing to smack was your way out, by the way.
Oh. You should come with me. I just talked to an old friend that would love to see you. I don't know why that was the dialogue, but okay.
Because the Grubbin Elder wants to see her again.
Oh, well,
But you
I
didn't talk to that
didn't
guy.
know that. I was dating... Oh, I see. Ah. Got it. Okay. French fry.
Frank Fry.
Frank fry.
But you need to zip line back over there first.
Yeah. I had a rough childhood. So he just said I had a rough childhood. All right, man. It's okay.
Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. Bum, 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 bum.
Flank fry.
Yeah, for most regular battles, the pirate is going to be better than the eyeball.
Yeah.
But for boss battles, of which there is one, the eyeball is going to be the better choice. Either way, you'll want the Yeti and Lady Liberty on hand. So
Well,
you get plenty of use out of both of them.
I didn't intend to start this battle.
Yep, it's fine.
It's fine.
And until
French fries good.
Yeah, and until you get the Yeti, the pirate and the eyeball together are ideal.
Salt to salt.
Salt to salt.
Salt to salt.
The French fry is pretty good, except that when you have the 2-ply, it really doesn't matter. The eyeball's just like, oh shit! Oh fuck!
Poor eyeball.
The eyeball sees the onion, it's just like, oh fuck! Oh fuck.
Yeah, got a little bit of time left.
Cake cod.
Cake cod.
That's hard to say.
Not really. Cake cod.
Cake cod.
Cake cod.
Cake cod. And then you're just saying cake cod.
Cake cod.
Cake cod.
Well, but I'm from California, so I don't pronounce any of my words correctly.
Do not adjust your television set. This static is intentional. Salty grease.
Salty grease.
Oh, I want salty grease.
Salty grease.
Oh,
We'll get
greasy
salty
salt.
grease after.
Yeah.
stream.
Yeah, we will.
Hey, where did that salty grease smell go? I knew you'd come back to me. I can't thank you enough, kids, but at least I can open that gate for you.
You can trick or treat in more place.
She's an Eiffel.
Eiffel Tower. Anyway, if you go up the ramp now
Yeah.
and worry about trick or treating later, you can get the Yeti costume.
Okay.
And then you'll have all the costumes for the combat.
Up, where we were?
Through the gate.
Through the gate. Okay. Through
You'll get to Traubog Town, and then they're preparing for Yeti Fest up there.
Oh, man. You stole your card. I'll keep my eyeballs peeled.
I'll
Gross.
keep my eyes peeled. Gross.
Alright, so... Where are we going? Okay, gotta go talk to the Traubog Elder.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah, because it's Yeti Fest.
Because it's Yeti Fest. Yeah. Nice pagoda. You must be the Traubog Elder. I'm not doing voices anymore. I hurt my throat.
Yeah, don't.
Actually, the Republics trashed most of our Traubog culture when they took over. That's a bummer. You guys seem so steeped in culture.
Oh, right, you need to open up the next gate.
Okay.
So go get the Tome of the Traubogs, and then open the next gate, and then you can do Yeti Fest.
Okay.
I was wrong about which order you did.
How
So
do I-
it's on the other side. Remember where you talked to that first guy?
Oh, yeah.
It's that first guy. Also,
Come on, Reynold.
Reynold is stuck.
Yep.
Reynold is stuck, and Everett is an eyeball.
The Tome of Trabogs is sacreder, apparently. Please move. Get out of my fucking way.
Sacreder.
It's more sacreder.
It's more sacreder.
Okay. Wow, they really didn't optimize these meshes very well.
They did not. It works fine on console. Just the PC version is jank.
No, I seriously doubt that.
No, I'm actually not kidding.
Oh.
It
Why is
works
the PC
better on console.
why is the PC
version is just jank.
Why?
Because it was a port.
But the mesh colliders should be the same. The colliders
They should be.
Well, they should have changed. Take a try about case of confusion.
Maybe they confuse you if you're a Trowbog. Go that way.
Yep. Oh. Okay. Nighttime. Candy.
Candy.
Cake God.
As opposed to Cake Cod.
I'll take Cake God.
Cake God.
Mm.
Now you can go the right. Go to the right.
Oh, okay. Go to the right. Now what?
Illuminate the ground. Try stuff. Try going locations.
What if I smell good?
I mean, that's your prerogative.
This one needs a power, so that feels right.
Now you illuminate the ground. Okay, go
This way. If only we had a bright light. This way.
left.
Yay! Why do I feel like I needed a guide the last time I did this?
Because you may have been an idiot.
I might have been a Trowbog.
You might have been a Trowbog. Fate worse than death. Okay, now go to the other direction. That isn't the right. Go left.
This way.
Meow. Go right. He's pointing to the right.
Yeah. Let's go. Hey, let's do it in here.
Kick that guy's ass.
My stinky skills are fine.
You also didn't have a very good combat setup.
It's fine.
It's fine, you've got the eyeball.
It's fine.
It's fine. Don't even worry about it.
Hi,
I wouldn't
Luke.
even worry about it.
Hi, Luke.
Hi, Luke. You're just in time for the last 15 minutes.
Yeah. He's good.
And then also Blackfoot Stream.
Yeah, Blackfoot Stream. The most important time of day, honestly.
Important meal of day. Why didn't you use the 2-play?
Because I'm dumb.
That's reasonable.
Because
I
I'm...
mean, it was reasonable to think you could have just killed that guy.
Yeah. Wham.
Now freeze one of them.
Get frozen,
Get froozed.
bitch.
Get froozed, bitch.
Get froozed, bitch.
Onion.
Push it. Ah, not the onion again. That's onions do that to me as well.
Now they both froze. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
He's dead now.
He's dead now.
The guy who's dead now. Freeze him.
Oh yeah. He's done.
And now you can just kill him at your leisure.
really at my leisure because I missed the freaking button.
Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. Yeah.
I like the flappy eyeballs, the little flappy dance. Anyway, you should equip your good stuff.
I'm still going through the maze.
Yeah, go north because that guy was guarding it. You put him in the Statue of Liberty outfit. So at least you have some heals.
Okay, he was guarding this way.
Yeah.
Eyeball. Eyeball. Cool guy.
Yeah, cool guy.
Cool guy.
It's the Trowbog book, so that's how you know to go to the Trowbog book place.
Yeah. Tome of Trobogs. Yay.
The Trowbog Elder wants it,
He does.
and I want it. Word.
Here's moldy book. That was a pain to find. Oh my god. It's a joke book. Alright, cool.
It's time to go through the gate.
It's time to end the stream.
In like 10 minutes. We still got 10 minutes.
Oh yeah. No.
They're gonna just-
No, it's like 3 minutes.
It's 11:52.
Why am I bad at math?
Because you never finished.
I don't want to fight these guys. I'm bored. It's not a defeat. I just don't feel like it.
Mm-hmm. Walk away before he re-encounters you.
Goodbye.
Now here's where Yeti Fest is.
Yeah, here's where Yeti Fest.
You gotta Yeti, get up.
Hey, you're the elder here, right? Can you flick your lever so we can go through that gate? Can't open this gate until the end of Yeti Fest. How long do we have to wait for you to celebrate Yeti Fest? That's like a joke book I had as a kid. Yeah, what did the ranch say to the refrigerator door? Close the door, I'm dressing. Yeah.
Yeah.
This time he hasn't emerged, with Araxia taking over. It's just another topping on our bummer sandwich. Maybe he overslept or something. Yeti is a lot of things, but tardy is not one of them. Something is awry. Yeah, if you get that Yeti to show his mug, you'll have for yourself an open gate. Okay. I don't want to fight guys right now. I don't feel like it.
Yo, fight guys later. When you have the...
I'll fight guys later when I have the energy to fight guys.
You replace the eyeball with the...
Hey, bobbing for eyeballs.
Yeah. Don't worry about
I'm gonna go in this cave.
it. Sounds good.
What's green on the inside while white on the outside and hops? A frog sandwich. What the fuck? Oh my god, that's terrible. That's like kid joke terrible.
No, wait, look at the other side first.
Uh,
Okay, there's nothing. I thought maybe there was a break thing, but there wasn't. I was wrong.
nope. I did not know that ghosts love elevators. Really lift their spirits. Ha 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 ha. All of these jokes are terrible.
You know what else is terrible? Piece of paper.
Piece of paper.
Resigned piece of paper.
Hello. You see a Yeti around here? The Yeti costume was ruined. Was the Yeti? I accidentally left my costume in the dryer at a high heat. It shrunk 4 sizes. What, you want me to wear that thing? Okay. Yeti. Ta-da!
Anyway, the Yeti is basically a better version of the Knight. It has higher attack power, better stats, higher hit points, and its ability shields everybody.
Gotta do the Bigfoot pose.
Okay, now you should have the pirate instead of the eyeball.
Costume is so degrading. Right, where's the elder?
Yeah.
There's the elder. Oh, Mr. Yeti, you're so a smaller person. Can you get some hot cocoa or a snack, or just open the gate, please, or rawr. Right away, Mr. Yeti.
Now, next time on Jack Draws Games the stream, we will trick or treat in all the houses.
Yeah, we gotta go trick or treating.
We gotta go trick or treating.
We gotta go trick or treating.
Trick or tweed.
Gotta wait for the other
Twig or tweed.
trick or tweed.
Twig or tweed.
Trick or tweed.
Yeah, at this rate, we'll definitely get through both games.
We're losing our mind.
Before the end of the month.
Our singular mind together.
Losing our singular brain cell that we have.
We do, in fact, share a brain cell.
It's one brain cell.
Unfortunately, that one brain cell, when we are close together, needs to, like, split its time.
Yeah, well, whenever we get in close
More.
proximity to one another, we just get really stupid.
Yeah.
Both of us just become idiots.
Like, generally, I think we're smart people, but together we are stupid.
I mean, we're definitely smart people.
A horse
We're
walks
just
into a
also
bar.
idiots.
A bartender says, "You're here quite often. Could you be an alcoholic?" Horse says, "I don't think I am," and then promptly vanishes from existence. God damn it.
This is, of course, a joke about Rene Descartes' famous saying, "I think, therefore I am." But if I said that first, I would have been putting Descartes before the horse.
My god. Mom
made
says
that-
it's my turn with the brain cell.
I have made that joke before.
Oh.
A horse walks in.
No, degrading costume is of a teacher. Oh my god.
A horse walks into a bar. The bartender says, "Why the long face?" The horse goes, because it's a horse and it doesn't speak English.
Oh yeah, guys, I made myself a new stinger. Check this out. So that when I switch scenes, it goes like this. Isn't that cute? Isn't that cute? Bartender-esque.
Horse says, "Nay."
Oh. Two guys walk into a bar. You'd think the second one would have noticed. Thank you. I think on Monday I want to work on a like Halloween model. Just like a simple little Halloween model on Monday for art day. Guy walks into a bar, says, "Ow." Jesus, these are terrible. Terrible. You're all terrible.
An atheist, a priest, and a rabbit go to donate blood. The
Where does it say?
the phlebotomist asks the rabbit, "What's your blood type?" The rabbit says, "I think I'm a type O."
Oh. Womp womp.
Womp
Womp womp.
Yeah, that's an appropriate reaction to all of this.
All right, enough of this nonsense.
Never enough of this nonsense.
Enough of this nonsense. Get out of my house.
Come back next Wednesday for more
Come
of
back
this
tomorrow.
nonsense.
Come back tomorrow. Be on time tomorrow, okay? Please, 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 guys, be on time tomorrow. We will have more fun with more people.
It's birthday.
It's birthday.
It's birthday.
So, beginning of the stream, if that's too early for people or people can't join, I'm gonna be playing Blue's Clues Birthday, and that we'll see how long that takes. But once everyone gets into the stream, like, please, guys, please, this is gonna be so much fun. We're gonna play Jackbox. Every come for tomorrow for my birthday. We're gonna play Jackbox. I'm gonna play Blue's Clues. Wait, I want fries. We'll include you in the fries getting.
Blue's Clues, I'm so excited.
Go Red Black. Bye.
Bye.